know it's not your imagination, but grocery prices are again going up.
Lawmakers inviting the United Nations ambassador to visit impoverished cities across the country. This after they released their report on extreme poverty in the United States.
Can't afford rent anymore, working non-stop yet still drowning in bills, choosing junk food because broccoli costs a fortune.
Having to go grocery shopping and then prices being so high, it's kind of like I kind of have to tie down on certain groceries.
Imagine living in the richest country on earth, but feeling trapped in cramped apartments, buried under medical debt, and forced into a never-ending cycle of exhaustion and despair. For millions of Americans, this isn't just an imagination, it's reality. What happened to the American dream that promised prosperity if you worked hard enough? How did opportunity turn into betrayal? The frustration is palpable. Anger, hopelessness, and a sense of betrayal have become common sentiments. How did we get here? How did the wealthiest nation on earth become a place where ordinary people struggle to survive? How did America, the land of dreams, become a nightmare for so many? This is why living in America has become impossible. Imagine your paycheck hasn't changed in years, but suddenly everything else costs twice as much.
Everything is so expensive.
Welcome to today's economic reality in America. Over the past decade, the rising cost of living has transformed what used to be decent wages into barely enough to survive. Consider this. In 2013, the average price of gasoline was around $3.40 per gallon. Today, in many places, it's soared above $4. Basic groceries have also become budget breakers. Milk, which cost about $3.20 per gallon in 2013, now averages nearly $4, while the prices of essentials like meat, bread, and produce have jumped dramatically. At the same time, wages have hardly budged. Many Americans are caught in a financial squeeze.
87% of Americans said that inflation and the rising costs of everyday goods is what's driving their stress.
Money is a universal stressor, regardless of your financial standing.
Forced to stretch every dollar to its breaking point. Job stability has vanished, replaced by a new economy where millions juggle multiple part-time or contract jobs without benefits like healthcare or paid leave. Young people enter the workforce saddled with massive student debt, which has jumped from an average of $26,000 in 2013 to nearly $37,000 today. Older workers, unable to retire, remain in the workforce longer, facing financial insecurity despite decades of hard work. Economic inequality has reached staggering levels, mirroring the divide of the Great Depression era. While a tiny fraction of the population controls unprecedented wealth, the majority of Americans struggle with debt and financial instability. Corporations reap record profits, but often pay little in taxes, while average workers shoulder more of the burden. Inflation further erodes purchasing power. Essentials like rent, food, and utilities now consume a larger portion of incomes, leaving little room for savings or emergencies. Home ownership, once a cornerstone of stability, feels increasingly out of reach.
Not only were we underbuilding for a decade, but then you get to the pandemic and there's this massive rush on housing.
This economic turmoil isn't just numbers. It's daily stress, sleepless nights, and constant worry. It's a reality that traps millions in a cycle of survival, making the pursuit of happiness feel like a distant dream.
The reason for that is that we are so underbuilt.
Imagine paying over half your income just to keep a roof over your head. For countless Americans, this nightmare has become their reality. In the past decade, the housing crisis has spiraled out of control, transforming a basic necessity into a luxury. Consider these shocking facts. In 2013, the median home price in the United States was around $197,000. Today, it's soared to nearly $430,000, an increase of over 118%. Rents have similarly exploded, with the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment jumping from $900 in 2013 to over $1,500 today, pushing many into financial despair. Behind these alarming numbers is a severe shortage of affordable housing. Restrictive zoning laws, rising construction costs, and speculative buying by investors have created a housing shortage that leaves millions struggling. In many cities, bidding wars have become common, with homes often selling far above asking prices, leaving ordinary families priced out. As a result, families are forced into painful compromises, longer commutes from distant suburbs or rural areas, crowded, substandard living conditions in small apartments, shared housing arrangements, sometimes involving multiple generations under one roof. The emotional and physical toll of this crisis is immense.
That report finding that 40 million Americans live in poverty, 18.5 million live in extreme poverty, and an additional 5 million live in conditions of absolute poverty.
Parents sacrifice time with their children due to long commutes. Young adults delay milestones like marriage and starting families. Unable to secure stable housing, homelessness has risen dramatically, even among working individuals who simply can't afford rent. This housing crisis reflects a disturbing shift in America. What was once a cornerstone of stability and prosperity, home ownership, has become an unattainable dream. The stress, instability, and insecurity caused by this crisis contribute directly to a declining quality of life. If housing, a basic human need, has become impossible for so many, how can we claim that life in America is anything but increasingly impossible?
Oh my gosh, I am a patient that just got my hospital bill and they charged me $50,000 to give birth to my own child. I am so lucky though because I have insurance and I only had to pay $6,000.
In America, falling ill can mean financial ruin. The cost of healthcare has become a frightening crisis. Just consider, medical bills are now the leading cause of personal bankruptcy in the United States. The average cost of a hospital stay exceeds $10,000. A single ambulance ride can cost over $1,200.
My wife, we just had our baby, and she had to take ibuprofen and Tylenol. One 800-milligram tablet was $45 per dose. That is insane.
Insurance premiums have doubled over the last decade, while deductibles have tripled. For a typical family, monthly premiums can exceed $1,200, with deductibles as high as $6,000 or more. Many Americans face terrifying choices: buy groceries or pay for vital medications, see a doctor or keep the lights on. This broken system leaves millions uninsured or underinsured.
People in America are traveling to other countries to get access to care.
Nearly 28 million Americans lack coverage entirely. For them, a simple accident or sudden illness can lead to staggering debt. Even insured individuals face barriers. Out-of-network charges, surprise bills, and denied claims are common nightmares. Chronic illnesses further compound this crisis. Conditions like diabetes or cancer can cost patients tens of thousands annually. Prescription drug prices have soared, forcing many to ration medication or skip doses. The price of insulin, for instance, rose from $230 per vial in 2013 to over $330 today, endangering lives.
I should not have to cross a border to buy my insulin.
I should not have to buy my insulin in the parking lot off a stranger as if it were a drug deal.
None of us should fear death from a perfectly manageable disease.
The emotional toll is equally devastating. Fear of medical debt prevents people from seeking timely care, worsening health outcomes. Parents worry constantly about their children's well-being, while seniors cut back on necessities to afford care. In a country that prides itself on wealth and innovation, the healthcare system has become a dangerous gamble, one that Americans simply can't afford to lose. America was once synonymous with opportunity, a land where anyone could rise from humble beginnings to success. But that promise is fading fast. Today, your future is increasingly determined by where you're born, your family's wealth, and the color of your skin, rather than your talent or hard work. Shocking statistics tell the story. Only 20% of Americans born into the bottom fifth of income earners ever make it to the middle class. Education, long seen as a key to advancement, is now a privilege rather than a right. Children from affluent families are 7 times more likely to complete college compared to their low-income peers. Why has this happened? Public schools are vastly unequal, funded by local property taxes. Wealthy areas have excellent schools. Poor communities have underfunded ones. Higher education costs have skyrocketed, rising over 213% in the last 30 years, making college unaffordable for millions. The situation worsens with racial disparities.
Especially coming from my experience as a first gen, my parents didn't know how to navigate this financial system. That's why I even myself entered finance, because I saw the stress my parents faced. So then I could learn and help protect them as well as protect the community and providing them education about finances that are, transparent.
Black and Latino families have significantly lower wealth and fewer resources for education and opportunities. Neighborhood segregation further isolates disadvantaged communities, limiting access to quality jobs, schools, and healthcare. The consequences are devastating. A generation stuck in poverty, unable to escape despite their efforts, growing hopelessness and frustration, fueling societal tensions and divisions. Loss of faith in the American dream itself, once the nation's defining ideal. Social mobility isn't just a statistic, it's hope. Without it, America risks becoming a land of entrenched privilege, with dreams reserved only for the fortunate few. The decline in social mobility is another reason why life in America feels increasingly impossible. America's political system is paralyzed. Deep divisions and relentless partisanship have turned Washington into a battlefield where compromise is rare and progress non-existent. This isn't just political drama. It's a crisis that directly impacts everyday life. Consider these troubling realities. In recent years, critical legislation addressing infrastructure, healthcare reform, and climate change has stalled repeatedly. Partisan fighting leads to government shutdowns, with damaging effects on the economy and public services. Why is this happening? Hyperpartisanship has reached historic levels. In Congress, cooperation across the aisle has plummeted. Between 2001 and 2019, bipartisan bills dropped from 55% to just 30%. Gerrymandering has made districts safe for extreme candidates, pushing politics further to the fringes and creating a Congress unwilling to compromise. This gridlock comes at a severe cost. Urgent issues like income inequality, healthcare affordability, and climate change remain unaddressed. Trust in government is at historic lows, with just 20% of Americans expressing confidence in their elected leaders.
To have the President of the United States directing his agencies and departments to look for ways to increase housing production and lower housing costs, it sends a clear message to the state and local governments as well that housing is a priority for this administration.
Social media amplifies divisions, creating echo chambers that deepen ideological rifts. Political discourse is now characterized by hostility and demonization of opponents. Citizens, feeling voiceless, grow more disillusioned and cynical about their ability to influence change. Additionally, lobbyists and special interests exert massive influence, often drowning out the voices of ordinary voters. Politicians prioritize fundraising and re-election over problem-solving, leaving the nation's most pressing challenges unresolved. The result? A government seemingly incapable of delivering solutions.
The ambassador, Nikki Haley, reacted poorly to the report, calling it misleading and politically motivated. A lawmaker from Alabama saying the report is pointing out the fact that poverty remains a critical problem across the country, saying more federal programs are needed.
This political paralysis has real-world consequences. Millions suffer while waiting for relief on healthcare, housing, or employment. The country's global standing declines as internal dysfunction projects, weakness abroad, civil unrest, and social divisions deepen, fueled by frustration and anger over ineffective governance. Ultimately, political gridlock and polarization are eroding America's ability to respond to crises and meet the needs of its citizens. Until the country finds a way to bridge these divides and restore effective governance, life in America will remain frustratingly impossible for many. Life in America has become an uphill battle, burdened by economic instability, unaffordable housing, crippling healthcare costs, diminishing social mobility, and political paralysis. Together, these factors weave a troubling tapestry of hardship that millions of Americans confront daily. Yet, despite these challenges, hope persists. Recognizing the severity of these issues is the first step toward meaningful change. America has faced tough times before and emerged stronger, driven by collective action and reform. To address these crises, we must demand economic policies that support fair wages and job security, comprehensive housing reforms, encouraging affordability and accessibility, healthcare system overhaul, ensuring care for all, not just the privileged few, education reforms, leveling the playing field so opportunity is based on talent, not wealth, political reform to break the cycle of gridlock and restore functional governance. Each voice matters. Change starts with awareness and grows through engagement. It's not enough to understand the issues. We must act. Voting, organizing, and speaking up can shift the trajectory from decline to renewal. So, will America rise to the challenge? That answer depends on us, collectively deciding to reclaim the promise of a fair, equitable society. If you found this exploration insightful, please hit that subscribe button. Joining us means joining a community dedicated to facing tough truths and working towards solutions. And now, we want to hear from you. If you could change one thing about America today, what would it be? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Together, let's spark a conversation that moves beyond just understanding why living in America has become impossible and toward making America livable again.